Today on Growing Bolder, Myrt Rose has lived a life of adventure and it's still unfolding.
You can't just sit home and be afraid. Can't be afraid.
A rabbi with a passion for keeping the ocean clean invites his students to join him in honoring their faith by repairing the sea.
So many of my college students want to change the world, and some of them are going to. And it's really an honor and a privilege to be able to work with them.
And how to navigate your way to a new passion after loss, coming up on Growing Bolder. We're not made to withdraw from life. We're made to seize each moment and to value every breath. We're made to be bold, to take risk, and to help others. We are the most creative, fearless, passionate being that has ever walked the face of the earth. Don't identify with limitation. Embrace possibility. This is not the beginning of the end. This is the beginning of what's next. This is Growing Bolder.
Support for Growing Bolder provided by
A financial plan should help grow and protect your money. An annuity can help cover essential expenses in retirement. You can find a financial professional to show you how at protectedincome.org.
Hi, I'm Mark Middleton, and this is Growing Bolder, which means you've probably heard me say that passion and purpose are the roadmap to active longevity. Passion and purpose are the keys to happy and healthy aging. Passion and purpose are what get us out of bed and can keep us engaged in life into our 60s, our 80s, and even into our 100s. And we've got plenty of proof today, from the Indiana Jones of turtle conservation to the rabbi of the reef, from the woman who is paddling her way through some very difficult times to the ageless aviator. And that is where we begin today with Growing Bolder's Amy Sweezy and the story of the awesome octogenarian for whom the sky is the limit. Whether it's flying planes, jumping from planes, or even walking on the wings of planes, she's found her passion and her purpose in the air.
Myrt Rose's sense of adventure started in the 1940s when she was a little girl. Driving across the country with her family opened the world to her and ignited her passion to see and explore it all. From living in the jungles of Peru, to diving for treasure, to kissing a camel, riding on an elephant, and yes, to flying all kinds of aircraft, jumping from them, and walking on their wings. Myrt Rose has lived a life of passion and adventure.
Take a dream and go after it, and don't say you can't.
Okay.
Myrt Rose has lived a life most people only dream about. If you have it on your bucket list, chances are Myrt Rose has already checked it off hers.
You can look at it and say, I never became great at any one thing, because I'd be doing something and then I'd say, well, that looks interesting, more fun, I'm going to do that.
It was her hunt for fun that motivated Myrt to jump out of planes in her 20s. She and her first husband, Ted Strong, owned a parachute company, and Myrt jumped at least 100 times.
They put you in the door of the airplane and the wind is just going, your feet are sliding sideways, and you do go and you say, what am I doing here? But once you're out, it is the quiet. It's so quiet, and you watch the plane go away and the parachute opens and you're floating. It's a wonderful feeling.
Myrt graduated from Endicott College in 1956 and eventually became an art teacher. But her sense of adventure kept Myrt from staying in one place too long.
You can't just sit home and be afraid. Can't be afraid.
That lack of fear empowered Myrt to strap herself to the wing of an airplane at the age of 40. She went from parachuting out of a plane to standing on top of a plane, performing as a wing walker for the first time during the 1976 Oshkosh Air Show. The biggest surprise, she had never even practiced before the show.
I got there early, he got there late, and you and I aren't allowed to practice the day of the show. So the first time I was ever up on the wing was in the show.
Where did you find the courage? I think that's very courageous. Did you think of that that you had to have a lot of courage to do that?
I don't know. I was flying, and I had been adventuresome. I went down to South America and lived with the Indians, where I was scuba diving and finding treasure, and parachuting and flying, and so it was kind of a step. You know, it was fun. I had a great time.
Did anybody try to stop you from being a wing walker?
No, I didn't. I never told my parents until after I sent them newspaper clippings, and I said, "This is what I've been doing this summer."
Myrt learned to fly both single and multi-engine aircraft, including seaplanes, and received her helicopter rating at the age of 60. Her favorite plane is Winston, an antique Piper J3 Cub which she still flies today at her homes in Florida and Illinois. Myrt and Ted later divorced but remained great friends until his death in 2011. It was at the Oshkosh Air Show in 1985 that Myrt met her second husband, Bill Rose. He loved flying in airplanes, and he loved adventure as much as Myrt.
He had all these airplanes, and he was a pilot. I mean, he was always building something. And he had a great restaurant, big business. We had a very interesting life.
Celebrating birthdays was a big deal to Myrt's husband, Bill. So when he turned 70, Myrt surprised him by doing a wing walk over their home in Marco Island, Florida. She was 64 at the time.
Every 5 years, he had to have a big birthday party. So when I gave him this, I came in and wing walked, and a reporter said to him, "Well, what do you think she's going to do in 5 years?" And he said, "Oh, it was a joke." He said, "Oh, she'll probably come in naked on an elephant." I thought, I can do that.
And that's exactly what she did. For Bill's 75th birthday, Myrt rode into his circus-themed party on an elephant. She wore a skin-colored bodysuit with strategically painted sections that gave the crowd and Bill quite a fun surprise. For his 80th birthday, they rode camels at a wildlife preserve in Naples, Florida. In 2010, Bill Rose passed away at the age of 83 following a heart attack. Myrt carried on their tradition of flying and often took her Piper J3 out in the afternoons. One afternoon flight made headlines around the world.
I used to fly every afternoon around 5:30, 6 o'clock in that time. So I went out and got in the airplane and went off and did my little tootled around the farms and waved at people and, you know, and coming back, all of a sudden this jet flew by me and I would look like, oh, they must be coming back from Oshkosh. And because there were a lot of jets up there at Oshkosh. Then I started descending, and so all of a sudden one came over the top of me, and then the other one came by me again. And so I waved. I said, oh, they're looking at how cute my airplane is, so I waved. So I was right next to the grass strip when I stopped, and I looked down the runway, and they were coming right down the runway low, and then they went straight up in the air with afterburners going, and right up, and the whole place just shook. You know how they are, and totally loaded with missiles. I mean, they were totally loaded, and I said, oh. And so then 4 state police cars and 4 town police cars came down and surrounded the airplane.
What Myrt didn't know was she had flown her antique airplane through then-President Obama's restricted airspace, and the Secret Service was not happy. It took 6 months to convince them it was an honest mistake. She avoided reporters until she saw a story on the front page of her local newspaper.
When they put that headlines in the Herald that elderly woman invades Obama airspace and put my age, well, that pissed me off. You know, I didn't think that was nice. So I said, okay, I'll give her an interview. So the next guy who called, it was AP News, and that went all over the world.
Myrt says she will keep flying as long as she's able.
If you have a dream, go after it and keep after it. And so you fail once, keep going after it and enjoy your life, enjoy every day. Tomorrow it might not be there. Just go after life. It's short. You know, you never thought about the end. Now you think about it and you think about what the kind of person you are. And I always hope that I'm kind. But I hope that when I'm 95, I can still be doing something exciting. To want to just sit and watch television, play with an iPhone, or something like that.
Man, you have to love Myrt's spirit of adventure. What a blessing to be in your 80s and to be so passionate about something that you're looking forward to what life can be like in your 90s. Unfortunately, most of us aren't born with a dream that consumes us and demands our attention. We have to find it before we can pursue it. And the truth is, most of us never actually realize our dream, but that's okay. The reward is in chasing it. The benefits are in the passion of the pursuit.
Well, we're all capable of doing more than we think. We can be the ones who light the spark, draw attention, and affect change. In fact, after learning to scuba dive, Ed Rosenthal fell in love with the ocean. But he saw the damage that was being done by endless pollution. Protecting the sea became his cause. As rabbi for the Hillel organization on college campuses in Tampa, Florida, he knew exactly where to look for help, and his students were ready to jump right in.
Or 6 years ago, I was teaching my students at Eckerd College in St. Petersburg about the Jewish tradition of Tashlich. Tashlich is on Rosh Hashanah, the new year, after the service, we go to a body of water and we throw breadcrumbs into the water to symbolically cast off our sins to begin the new year with a clean slate. So I was teaching my students about Tashlich, and one of the students said, Rabbi, there's already more than enough human sin in the water. Why don't we take some of it out? And with 5 students, they organized a cleanup along the waterfront on campus. Eckerd has a beautiful 1.5 mile waterfront property, so it's a great place. The students cleaned the waterfront. The next year we had 10 students, and then they said, let's go big. And we reached out to all of the synagogues in the Tampa Bay area, and every synagogue organized a team, and we had about 300 volunteers cleaning waterfront locations, and it was great. The following year, the students said, look where we've come from, 5 students, let's go big or go home. And before the pandemic in 2019, we had 49 different groups in the US, Canada, Israel, and Argentina cleaning waterfront locations. And we had over 850 volunteers, and they removed thousands of pounds of debris from the waterfront.
It was a lesson for Rabbi Rosenthal on what's possible when different generations are motivated to work together to try to achieve a common goal. Something else Rosenthal points out is it also helps him see things from a different perspective, even things he's used to looking at. He's come to appreciate the gift of looking at life through a fresh set of eyes.
I take students to Israel every year on Birthright. It's a program for Jewish students. And every year, they have to go to the same places. And if I just went for myself, I'd say, oh yeah, Jerusalem again. But every time I go, I have to see it through the eyes of the students who are seeing it for the first time. And that keeps the wonder. And when I work with my students with Tikkun Hayam and Scooby Jew, I have to recognize that new students are coming in constantly. And while I may feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over, teaching new people, the reality is I have to see what I see and hear what I hear through new eyes and ears. And if I can't see it like that, I'm not going to be able to inspire them. And so it's about not becoming jaded. It's about recognizing that every day is new and every day has something new to be done to make the world a better place. And I think that's really how I keep the passion.
Rabbi Rosenthal is an unlikely hero of the environment, but he found a way to make a difference and to work towards finding solutions. His passion for the ocean's only exceeded by his passion for inspiring his students, and he believes that's his purpose. And there is no more important purpose than making the world a cleaner, better place for us all.
One of the coolest things about human beings is the amazing range of things that we can become passionate about. Can you imagine dedicating your life to helping turtles? For Peter Pritchard, it was a lifelong passion, an adventure that led him into the most remote corners of the world and made him an international celebrity, the Indiana Jones of tortoises. Dr. Pritchard passed away not long ago, which made us especially grateful that we were able to spend an interesting afternoon with him at his home in between his many turtle travels.
This old yellow house in Oviedo, Florida is home to one of America's best-kept secrets. Inside, Dr. Peter Pritchard has amassed the world's most complete turtle collection.
We've got every genus and nearly all the species. And every so often we get another one.
Nearly 7,000 specimens, and not one was sacrificed to be here.
We have a rule that most museums don't have, which is we never kill turtles because we are turtle conservationists.
Actually, he's not just a turtle conservationist, he's the turtle conservationist, the world's foremost authority, and a man Time magazine named a hero of the planet. He's an international celebrity.
But it's not like being a real celebrity where you get harassed, where you have to wear a funny hat and dark glasses and have bodyguards and this sort of thing. It's nice to go somewhere and find colleagues who welcome you.
When the Smithsonian doesn't have something, they send researchers here to look at the turtle shells on the turtle shelves. There's skulls, fossils, turtles on the walls and hanging from the ceiling, turtles in boxes and in jars, all labeled, cataloged, and stored inside the mind of the greatest turtle man ever.
This is a Madagascar radiated tortoise. These are Indian star tortoises. These are from the Great Karoo of South Africa. And this was actually killed by hunters in Guyana, who are now working on my payroll to do turtle protection. So it's symbolic of what we have done in Guyana.
This may be or is the world's only complete collection of every sea turtle species?
I think so.
His live collection isn't nearly as big, but it's a whole lot more fun. Large Galapagos turtles roam the backyard feasting on tomatoes.
Can't really push through there. Shall I walk around there?
Turtles are slow and not very smart, but yet they've been around since the day of the dinosaur.
Some say that the moral of the story is don't try to be dominant. Try to have your place. But you don't have to be the big dinosaur. That lasts for a while and then, it comes to an end.
Inside there's more, lots more.
It's a snake-necked turtle from New Guinea.
Does he bite?
No, he doesn't seem to. There's a toad-headed turtle there, a kind of side-neck. And this one is actually from southern Mexico. This is a Pacific Coast form from El Salvador. You see it's got a short section here.
Right. Oh!
The alligator snapper has what appears to be a worm on his tongue that he uses to attract hungry fish.
So he's just tempting me to stick my finger in there right now.
Yeah, he'd love you to. He'd be very happy.
Not going to happen. Sometimes you say about a guy who's an expert that he wrote the encyclopedia on something, but in your case, you literally did, didn't you? You wrote the encyclopedia of turtles.
Dr. Pritchard has been good to turtles, and turtles have been good to him.
Sort of a curious doorway to the world. I mean, turtles have taken me to, I think, about 90 countries and territories. You get a fascinating insight into people, because you go to countries that don't have a lot of tourism and you seek out remote corners of them where sort of tribal or village people really haven't seen outsiders. But they're curious and welcoming when one shows up.
Dr. Pritchard is equally at home in remote jungles and royal palaces. He's friendly with Queen Elizabeth.
She gave me some data on side-necked turtles in Guyana that she and Prince Philip had spotted on the outing they had the week before.
He's a humble man, not at all motivated by possessions, so we just had to know, why is an old Rolls Royce sitting out front? Turns out it's a memento to his family's tradition of building bridges between diverse groups of people. It was his great-grandfather who introduced Mr. Rolls to Mr. Royce.
Were it not for your great-grandfather, we may not have a Rolls Royce.
No, they would never have met, because one was an engineer and the other was an aristocrat.
Peter Pritchard is the Indiana Jones of turtles, sitting in his office waiting for his next great adventure in some remote corner of the world. And it's never too far away.
I go to Trinidad for a couple of days and then on to Guyana.
Wow.
Incredible story of a truly amazing person. He knew exactly what his passion was in life. But what if you are not so sure of yours? Martha Carswell thought she knew what hers was. She was an athlete, one of the best. But everything changed when an accident shattered her body. And even though her wounds healed, her spirit did not. For her, growing bolder is about the search to recapture it any way she can.
Almost any day, this is where you'll find Martha Carswell.
Good girl, good girl. I love the water. I've got to be around the water. After my accident, the doctors had said you got to find something that's not quite as intense.
You see, Martha had always been pretty intense until the accident changed everything.
What's my story? Gosh, this room holds a lot of it.
It's an attic converted to a loft and filled with reminders of a very different life, a life dominated by competitive athletics. She was as competitive as they come.
I started playing basketball, and this was my first high school uniform.
The short little point guard from Clinch County, Georgia, had a heart as big as the ball. But even she was surprised when just a few years later, she became one of the true pioneers of the game.
We formed the first women's pro basketball team. It was called the Phoenix Pink Panthers out in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. And we are in the Women's Hall of Fame, Basketball Hall of Fame.
But the highlight of all, the one that meant the most to her, was competing in the prestigious Kona Ironman in Hawaii.
That was the happiest day of my life. You know, my greatest accomplishment.
She didn't have much time to celebrate. Weeks after the happiest day came the worst.
Then I was coming down a hill and probably going 20 miles an hour on the bike, and a van came around the corner on the wrong side of the road. You know how you'll take a curve on the wrong side? And I couldn't stop, or I guess they couldn't stop either, and I went face first through the windshield. I threw my arm up in front of my face and turned my head. I can remember thinking, goodbye. I mean, I said that to myself. I thought I was dead. I almost cut this arm off, and it knocked all my teeth out over this way, and cut all this side of my face up really bad.
It took 2 years of rehab for her broken bones to heal, but it's the scars you can't see from traumatic brain injury that have been the most devastating.
I hate to get emotional about it, but it changed my whole life. It did. It changed everything. That accident changed my whole personality. Well, that enthusiasm you heard me talk about before, it's gone.
Martha was lost.
Okay.
Until she found her way to the water.
What happened is the doctors told me I had to find something that was a lot less impact on me. That's how I got into kayaking. That's what I did that about 10 years ago. I got it and I did a lot of kayak racing. I was state champion, women's state champion in kayaking.
The same comfort she used to find in a pair of running shoes, she now gets from slipping into a kayak.
See that big bird? Look at that bird. There's some fish down there too. Look at those fish.
It helped her put the pieces back together, to the point where now, 2 decades later, she's starting to have some old familiar feelings again, flashes of restlessness that make her believe that perhaps this is not the end of her story, but the beginning of a whole new chapter of her life.
I'm just not ready to give up. I want to have a lot more experiences. I need a big challenge. And I'm having a hard time finding it. And I'm searching real hard for it. Until I find it, I'm not going to be satisfied. It's that fish, okay?
We talk a lot about the opportunity of aging, about the blessing of growing older, something that many of us actually resent. Consider that modern man has been on the planet for about 300,000 years, and for 99% of that time, the average life expectancy was just 19. 100 years ago, the life expectancy was only 49. 99.9% of every person who has ever lived would give everything they have just to see the age of 60. They would give everything they have for the opportunity that we've all been blessed with. So, what are we going to do with it? We have to be open to new experiences and new relationships. And we do that by learning to say yes. When we say no, our world begins to shrink and opportunities begin to dwindle. Odds are we won't find our passion in the air, under the water, helping turtles, or paddling a kayak. It can be at a computer in front of a microphone or an easel. It can be sitting at a piano or on the couch mentoring a child. The opportunities are endless, and it all begins with a spirit of adventure and a willingness to lean into life. It all begins with growing bolder. We'll see you next time.
Support for Growing Bolder provided by
A financial plan should help grow and protect your money. An annuity can help cover essential expenses in retirement. You can find a financial professional to show you how at protectedincome.org.
Watch previous seasons of Growing Bolder plus bonus stories via our new free streaming app. More information at growingbolder.com/TV. And you can get inspired to plan your what's next when you connect with the Growing Bolder community on Facebook. Show the world you're growing bolder with official Growing Bolder products. Growing Bolder tees and hats are available for $25 each. Custom mugs are $15, and inspiring Tear and Share postcards featuring original artwork and bold messages are $15 plus shipping and handling. All items are available at growingbolder.com/shop.